time now for everyone's favorite segment of the week. It is time.
It's time for a good old-fashioned Q&A, MMA fans.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, the moment has
That was fun. I enjoyed my first time talking to
Ariel
Chantel Cameron.
Helwani.
Enjoyed that very much. Can't wait for the fight. She is the favorite, by the way. Katie the underdog. Rare time where she's the underdog. We recall that she was the underdog going up against Amanda Serrano. She was an H-out pick. Oh, I wonder if GC has a little money on this fight. You got a little action on it or what? You don't have to tell me now, but I just was curious if you had something.
A little something.
A sprinkle. Okay.
Nothing.
All right. That's a big one. That is a big one. I do want to remind you that this edition of On the Nose is brought to you by our good friends over at Kraken. Kraken, see what crypto can be. We appreciate them very much. Great people over there. Thank you very much to them for their support. Always smart when you can be a part of the favorite segment of the week. And thank you very much to Mysterious Frank for his efforts cobbling up all the questions. Moderator Frank. Shout out to our two new moderators on the YouTube channel as well, Brandon and OC. There's a lot to be thankful for on this Thanksgiving Eve. Let's get into it, friends. And still to come, of course, Kayla Harrison, Dustin Poirier, and Eileen Perez in studio. Stay tuned for all of that. It's going to be a great day. Taco Enthusiast is up first. Hi, Ariel. Thank you for conducting such an insightful interview with Don Davis. Yes, the PFL founder, chairman, and co-owner. The business of MMA is fascinating to me. I agree. And there's nobody I'd rather see interviewing the bigwigs than you, my guy. Thank you. I appreciate that. While I find many facets of the PFL-Bellator deal interesting, I think their competitive advantage over the UFC lies in, one, how quickly, and two, how effectively they're able to capture additional international markets. Not a bad point. While I can't foresee a future where PFL is more revered than the UFC stateside, I absolutely see the potential for international growth and a not-so-distant future where PFL is the bigger brand abroad. You agree with this take? Why or not? I mean, listen, you may not think that they're going to overtake the UFC stateside. It's going to take a long time before they are the dominant brand anywhere else in the world, but there's probably a little less work to be done, a little. The UFC has such an edge, and there's such a gap, not just here, but in Canada and in Europe and everywhere, Middle East, etc. I saw some people saying, I can't believe Ariel is comparing the acquisition of Bellator by the PFL to the UFC Pride deal, to the UFC Strikeforce deal. Make no mistake about it. I said very clearly that this is the fifth most notable one. It is nowhere near as big as those others. And it's not even as big as the Strikeforce Elite XC deal back in the day. I was around for all of them. And you look at the rosters, PFL is acquiring a better roster than the one they currently have. A deeper roster, a more talented roster. This is why they did it. And one of the questions that I had that I didn't ask Don Davis on Monday was, hey, a few weeks ago, Showtime Sports announced that they were getting out of the sports business. Showtime announced that they were getting out of the sports business. Showtime said that they were getting out of the combat sports business. Come end of December, they were done. Why didn't you just wait until they were fully out in January? All the pieces are dispersed all over the diaspora, and then you gobble them up, you pick up the scraps, and you don't have to give them any equity. I know he said that they didn't pay anything for it. There was no money exchanged, but they did give Paramount some equity. You could have gotten away with no equity. And so I asked him this question, did you consider that? And he said, yes. He told me this morning when I asked him. Yes, it was discussed. That would have been more cost effective for PFL. We could have done that. We did it this way because better for the Bellator fighters, or else all their contracts null and void, meaning Patchy Mix. I saw him, I think he spoke to Damian Martin yesterday. He was glowing about the fact that he just signed a big new deal. And by the way, a lot of people recently in Bellator signed big new deals, and I wonder if that was a bit of a parting gift. Sign the big new deal before the deal gets done. Now you have to honor said deal. I wonder. I'm just bringing that up. But anyway, if Bellator closes shop and Paramount closes shop on Bellator, that contract means nothing. And so to Don's point here, all the contracts would have been null and void had they waited. He's honoring the contracts. He continues. So 200 fighters hitting the market at once, the fighters would have been in a bad position. Sure, some would have had multiple bidders and ended up in the same position. 90% of them would have been worse off, he continues. I took the long-term view that PFL, as a fighter-first league, would benefit. Doing this would build goodwill and relationships. So there you have it. Now, is that a bit of spin PR? You be the judge. But you can make a very, very strong case that, they could have just waited to January and then gotten into a bidding war with the likes of UFC, One, Ryzen, whomever. If I'm the UFC, I want Johnny Eblin. If I'm the UFC, I want Patchy Mix. If I'm the UFC, I want Usman Nurmagomedov. I want Vadim Nemkov. They would have gone, and very good chance they would have lost out. So they needed to beat them to the punch. They needed to get those deals before they officially closed up shop. And, equity is equity, but they didn't have to lose out on any money, exchange any cash, so to speak. And that's why they did it. The other question that I asked Don Davis about, this was on Tuesday, when the UFC bought Pride, as we've discussed, some fighters didn't cross over. Some of the contracts didn't cross over. Fyodor Emelianenko, most notably. I asked him, can that happen here? Or as a result of the acquisition, are all the contracts coming over? He said, yes, that is accurate. All the contracts are coming over, no issues. So some people are wondering, can someone opt out? Can someone say, I'm not going? According to Don Davis, that is not the case. Everyone has to go. So I think those are two very interesting nuggets and updates, if you will. Let's see. As I think GC said on Monday, PFL has made a lot of announcements over the past year. They've announced, the Jake Paul deal. They've announced the Francis Ngannou deal, the pay-per-view super fight deal, Amanda Serrano signing with them. Was it Jessica McCaskill that they announced signing with them as well? Who was it? I'm blanking on, was it McCaskill when I was on vacation? PFL. Am I crazy? Who was it that they announced?
Yeah, I don't recall McCaskill signing.
Was it not McCaskill?
Maybe I'm wrong.
Hey. Well, Clarissa Shields has fought for them. Who? Oh, Savannah Marshall. Savannah Marshall is the one. I confused Savannah Marshall with... They announced Savannah Marshall signed. McCaskill fought Chantal Cameron. They announced her signing. So are these deals going to come to fruition? 2024 is a really big year for them to put this all into practice. Where's Bellator going to air? Are they going to be able to put on all these fights, the TV deals, all that stuff? It's a fascinating story to follow, and I'm very curious to see how it all pans out. Abe, hello, Ariel. But please, 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 make no mistake about it. Regardless of what the idiots on Twitter may say, or X, the trolls, it is going to take years, if not decades, before anyone can gain ground, significant ground on the UFC. The UFC is by far, I don't know what rankings, this and that. Most rankings that I look at, 90% of them, the top 10, if not more, 95%, whatever it is, are UFC fighters. They have the best. They put on the best events. They have the best fighters. They have the best production. They have the best everything. They are the best. They are the leaders. Anyone who tells you otherwise is an absolute liar. I say this time and again. People just want to pick and choose what they listen and digest. They are the best by far. And so it's going to take a lot of work. And, oh, by the way, I don't believe for a second that they have lost any sleep on this deal. They are the best. There's a massive gap between everyone else. And so we will now see if slowly but surely they'll be able to gain some ground. They need to build stars. They need to get in on the Bo Nickals before the UFC can get them. And now with the Contender Series, the UFC is getting to prospects a lot sooner than they did in the past. They need to be aggressive. If I were in charge of PFL, the number one thing that I would be focused on right now is talent scouting. I would have people stationed all over the globe waiting to sign collegiate athletes, waiting to sign blue chip prospects, waiting to sign 1-0 stars from Mexico. You got to get them before the UFC gets them. That's how you're going to try to gain any ground whatsoever. Ultimately, everyone dreams of being a UFC fighter. That's the dream. That's the end goal. No one dreams of being a CFL or XFL fighter. No one dreams of playing for Real Madrid in basketball. They want to go to the NBA. No one dreams of playing for Inter Miami in MLS. They want to go to Arsenal or Man United or Chelsea or Man City. You got to get them before they get to the dream. You're probably going to have to overpay. You're probably going to have to do this, that, and the other. But that should be priority number one. Hello, Abe. Hello, Ariel. As 2024 approaches, how would you assess the significance of the backup fighter? It's been a big talking point this year, and at one point I felt too many fighters were clamoring for that spot. Yeah, that was a thing, but I think it's died down, thankfully. However, in recent months, we've gone from Colby being guaranteed a title shot because he weighed in to Cannonier. Well, Colby weighed in. Yeah, that was in March. To Cannonier being a backup fighter only for DDP to get the title shot while Cannonier fights Dolite. Remember, Cannonier was asked to fight. I know it was short notice. Shemaev got hurt. That was a probable number one contender fight. Gamrot was the backup fighter. They called Poirier Volk instead. Pavlovich was the backup fighter. Okay, on and on it goes. Where do you see this going? I mean, it just depends. I have never thought that the backup fighter is your ticket. It only became the ticket when Dana White used that as the reason for giving Colby the title shot. Could have just said, we wanted to give him the title shot, and that was that. There are some people who have used the backup fighter slot to really wedge their way in there, and probably no one more so than Alex Volkanovski. Remember, he flew to Edmonton to be the backup fighter for Holloway Edgar, and that put him at the front of the line. Was the backup fighter last year in Abu Dhabi, and that put him in the front of the line. Very, very smart. But I think if you're accepting the backup fighter role, remember Anthony Smith was the backup fighter for the light heavyweight title fight in January. I know he missed weight, but I think you accept it. You hope that it gets you in their good graces. You hope that it puts you at the top of the list. But it's rare that it's used as a guarantee. And to your point, Abe, it's sort of fizzled out. I'm glad we are past the stage where people are getting on the microphone and asking to be the backup fighter, because that's just very awkward. Leave that conversation for the back room, if you ask me. Ant Evans, our good pal, YouTube guru himself. Oh man, Ant Evans just rolling in the jobs now. I mean, he can't accept all these jobs. It's an amazing thing. He has really built an empire. Lovely to see. Anyway, without help from Ariel and his slightly sinister ability to recall every conversation he's ever had, can New York Rick and GC name all 5 PFL Inc. brands off the top of their head?
The new ones.
No, name all 5. There's 5 right now.
That's what I'm saying. There's obviously Bellator.
Yeah. I think the official name is the Bellator International Series. Anyway,
Bellator
there's no way I'm going to
Series.
get official titles on these because they're just
PFL International, so like PFL Europe, the PFL pay-per-view super fights. Is that 3? PFL Challenger Series, that's 4, and the PFL playoffs. Yeah, regular season. And Bellator versus PFL Champions Series?
No, that's not it. Over to you, New York Rick.
Wait, he named all 5, no?
I just named 6.
Bellator?
I named all 6 of their
go ahead.
properties.
Bellator,
Yeah.
PFL's season and playoff format.
Well, you did say that you broke those up into
PFL
2.
Challengers.
Yeah.
No, 1.
Okay, yeah. No, he
Bellator,
did. He did.
PFL season,
Yeah.
PFL Challenger Series, PFL Europe, and what was the last one? GC, what did I miss that you said?
Bellator versus PFL Champions Series.
Oh, no.
The pay-per-view super fight division.
Yes.
The pay-per-view super fights. There it is. He named all 5. He had it.
Well, actually,
Nice and clean, easy, not complicated. Nowhere.
PFL Europe is actually not. It's the international series.
Yes.
There's gonna
I
be,
did say that. I did say that. We got Africa and
in Middle East.
Middle East.
But again, those
It's
are
not-
things that need to come to fruition as well.
It's not difficult, but I think it's silly.
Which part?
Call it PFL. All of it.
Yeah, I mean, you could call it Fight Night. You could call it the one.
Yeah, but that's not a brand.
The one that makes the least sense is Bellator to me.
Yes.
I mean, don't get me started on that. I've gone for 2 weeks now on how stupid I think that is.
Isn't there also PFL International Challenger Series?
No, that's just crazy. That's crazy.
I mean, that'd be great stuff. Are we going to get a Bellator?
The derivative of the derivative of the derivative.
We need more brands. We need more inks.
Yeah.
I mean, UFC does this, right? Like obviously they have Dana White's Contender Series, they have fight nights, they have pay-per-views,
So
they have television series like looking for a fight. Like there's brands, of course, there's going to be brands, but like don't complicate the mix, right? Like when you go international, now is it an international Bellator or is it an international PFL? Like it's just silly. It's just PFL. Call it PFL. Don't overcomplicate it.
When are we gonna get TPF, the professional fighter, and it's Don Davis bringing in guys. You get Kayla Harrison versus Larissa Pacheco coaching, and that's how we bring in new contenders to the PFL.
So I was just having this conversation yesterday because everyone's getting like all up in arms over the different brands, but in reality, you nailed it, Rick. The UFC has pretty much the same thing, except they just call it UFC. So you 1,000% name. So I would put it as PFL. Excuse me, the UFC pay-per-views, the numbered events, right? Those are the creme de la creme. Then you have the fight nights like this Austin card, which is a little bit better than your typical fight night. Then you have the Apex fight nights, which is a little bit worse than the city
right, but still
night.
A fight night though.
Sure. But like in the PFL,
they're
world,
letting you do the work.
Exactly.
That's the thing. The UFC just says, here's the number or here's the name on the cards. You decide what level of interest you have in this and go. And PFL is like, well, no, this is our international, this, that, the other.
And I think I could explain why. But let me just get to the last two. Then you have Contender Series, and then I would say Tough, right? Tough would be the last one. And so those are 5 different levels. I think, this is me just hypothesizing, part of the reason why they break it down this way is so that they can sell these pieces off.
Sure.
So you can sell challengers to Fubo, and look what happened with the PFL Europe stuff. It wasn't available here in America because
we couldn't watch
it was a DAZN deal, right? And DAZN had the rights to it, and ESPN has the rights to it here in America and all that. Bellator, I suspect they're going to try to sell it. I've poked around. I'm really curious to see where this goes. Does it go on the WBD? Does it go on a CW who just did a deal for NXT? That could be an interesting one.
Wow, that'd be wild.
Here in
MMA
America.
Fights on the CW?
I don't know. I'm trying to figure out where it's going to go. I don't think it's going on ESPN. I don't think it's going on DAZN. Maybe Amazon. Amazon has one. They're getting more and more into sports. Do they put it on YouTube? Do they put it on like a ppv.com type of platform? I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen.
My curiosity isn't where it lands. My curiosity is how much is it worth? Like, that's going to be the determining factor. Like, Bellator didn't have a cash value, right? There was a stock exchange. So who's going to pay for the rights to broadcast that is very curious for me.
Let's take a CW who just did that deal with NXT, right?
Shut up.
That's live content 8 times a year for 6 hours. There's some value there. You know what I mean? Like
but
everyone's got the CW too.
If I was CW or somebody like that and I wanted to broadcast MMA fights, I would have just bought Bellator. I would have just paid cash. I would have paid cash and bought Bellator, and then I can have all that, and I don't have to license it.
Nah, because
if I'm gonna give PFL $20 million to license Bellator fights, I would have just bought Bellator for $20 million.
Because it costs more than $20 million to put on 8 events around the world.
The operations?
Yes.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to put on those events.
You just keep the same team. But you're
now paying more.
People.
You're paying a lot of money to put on those events, and you have to be in charge of the staff and the broad. Here, you just say, "Here, PFL. Here's a check for X amount. You run it. Let us know when you're ready to."
You could do that. You could still do that. Hey, Bellator, here's a check for X amount. Keep running your shows.
No one wants to run it. Just ask Viacom. It's a pain in the ass to run it.
Following tonight's Smallville,
I think was a price.
Bellator.
Yeah.
I think that was just a bad price situation.
No, but there's a reason why.
When they first got
remember, there was those rumors of Disney's going to buy the UFC and Fox is going to buy the UFC.
They should have. If Disney had bought the UFC, they'd be not in the hole that they're going to be in come renegotiation time with the UFC.
Yeah,
it's going to be a rough. It's going to be a rough negotiation because of how big the UFC has gotten in the time since that deal was first signed. They should have bought the UFC.
The TV business, especially here in America, is going to get fascinating over the next year or two. In combat sports, there's the NBA deal that's going to be huge. That's coming up soon, and there's talks of them going to Amazon or Apple, maybe back to NBC, Turner, of course, and ESPN. But PBC needs a new home. Are they going to go to Amazon? Are they just going to be a pay-per-view property? Are they going to go to WBD or someone like that? PFL needs a new home. We suspect it's going to go back to ESPN, but what about these other properties that they have? That's going to be really interesting. The Top Rank deal is done soon with ESPN. There's just a lot of components that I'm really curious to see how it all plays out. So stay tuned. Nate fought a bear. Hello, Ariel. PFL has acquired Bellator. How do the contracts with Bellator fighters work? Are they just considered he wrote assists, I'm assuming assets, of Bellator? Is this acquisition inclusive of all the fighters under the Bellator banner? Yes, I answered that. So every Bellator fighter with a contract is coming over. Now, PFL could ultimately say, like, we don't want these people, and then it gets into the nitty-gritty of who they can release and how. But as Don said, they need fighters in fights, so I'm presuming they want a lot of them. It is true that Bellator had a lot of local guys to populate the undercards to sell tickets. That was part of the brilliance of Scott Coker, in the Strikeforce days. They would sell a bunch of tickets based off the prelim names, and then the main card was more of a TV product. I've told this story before, but this first was a eureka moment for me. 2008. It was the last event that I covered for MMArated.com. I was in San Jose for an HGNet Fights Friday night event headlined by Bobby Southworth versus Babalu Sobral. And, it was a solid enough card, nothing to really write home about. But at the time, the UFC wasn't credentialing MMA Rated. So, I took what I could get. It was actually the weekend after Lesnar Couture UFC 91. I couldn't go to that one. I went to this one. So those of you who are new to this game, we've been at it for a while, and the place was packed, jam-packed. Babalu Sobral, Bobby Southworth with a ho-hum fight. It ends, and I'm packing up my stuff, and then all of a sudden 2 dudes walk out, and the place explodes. And then I look up who these guys are, and they were 2 Bay Area kickboxing legends who were 1-0 and 0-1 in MMA, and their lone fight was against each other, and this was a rematch. And the place exploded. The place exploded like it was, GSP walking out in Montreal. And I was like, this is the brilliance of Scott Coker and Strikeforce back in the day. He knows how to market to the local crowd. And so they had a lot of fighters like that. Some of them, the OSPs of the world, the Michael Chandlers of the world, he put those guys on as undercard guys to sell tickets, and eventually they graduated to being actual players. But some of them haven't. And he had the same thing with the Bellator fights, and that's why there were sometimes 16 fights on these cards. So maybe there's a scenario where PFL doesn't want all of these guys, but they can't opt out. It's on the PFL. He continues, we heard from champions like Eblin that there isn't a division for him and he wants to go to the UFC. Now, that's not exactly accurate. There isn't a division for him to fight against. They could make a super fight, if you will. They could do a Johnny Eblin versus some guy that they bring in and do that. But there's still a Bellator middleweight division. They just acquired it. Now, does that interest a Johnny Eblin? Does he feel slighted? Does he feel like it's not motivating enough? I don't know. But if they pay him well, he seems like the kind of guy who doesn't really care where he fights. He just wants to get paid. Also, I would best describe Tool as math rock, music that is rhythmically complex with odd time signatures and interplay between bass and guitar to give them their unique sound. Do you like that description, Frank?
I mean, it's certainly
Bass.
a take.
What did I say?
Bass.
Is it not bass? Bass?
Yeah.
No, but bass is B-A-S-E.
No, not in this case. It's BASS.
Well, I'm reading it,
No, I get it.
Look,
I
I
get it.
took no issue with it.
I took issue
It's
with
a bit of a dick, move there. I mean,
I-
geez, I'm trying my
I
best.
have to agree.
Yeah.
I don't agree with the question though.
Why?
would
What the hell is
say,
math rock?
It's a genre of rock. I would say bands like Neurosis or Dillinger Escape Plan or maybe Battles would be math rock. I wouldn't put Tool with that.
Okay, fine. What would you call them?
Progressive rock.
Progressive rock. Wow, I didn't even know there were distinctions here.
Yeah, think of your Pink Floyd, your
What is
Led
Pink Floyd?
Zeppelin. Progressive rock.
Oh, okay. And what is bass rock?
That doesn't exist.
Okay.
Maybe for fishermen or something.
What about bass rock? Same
I
thing?
have to go now.
Okay, perfect. Jason, hello, Ariel and crew. Ariel, what are some of the best or your favorite nicknames of all time? I have a top 5. The Axe Murderer, the Natural Born Killer, the Irish Hand Grenade, the Bear Jew, the Korean Zombie. Honorable mention, probably The Outlaw, or maybe even The Dentist. All great, those are my favorite. But I'm wondering what you and the guys thought were some of the best, and if you agree with my list as some of the best. Thanks for all the great content. Hope you all have a wonderful holiday. Those are great ones.
Wonder Boy, Astro Boy.
I was just going to say Astro Boy. Oh, my God. What else you got?
Iron
Really
Turtle,
did-
obviously.
Yes, Iron Turtle. I was going to say Iron Turtle for sure.
Problem Child.
Problem
understand that's
Child.
not-
Yes. Rampage is a good one.
It is a really good one. Very fitting too.
The Iceman.
Iceman's great, especially with the shorts.
The Huntington Beach Bad Boy. Not bad. What about Crow Cop? Back in the
Yeah.
day, Crow Cop was a great one. That wasn't his last name. They kind of called him Mirko Crow Cop, but it was Filipovich. The Last Emperor. Fyodor Emelianenko.
Honestly, Patty
Shogun?
the Baddie.
Patty the Baddie's a
just
good
works
one.
So well.
Showtime Pettis. That's a fun one.
Sexy Yama?
Sexy Yama.
I
Wait,
think I just kind of like them all.
I feel like GC's looking at the same list as I am now.
I'm-
Topology, best nicknames of all time.
The American Psycho. May you rest in peace, Stephen Bonner. Big Country is a great one.
Who's the
Notorious
dentist?
Conor McGregor?
Taurus, yeah. Uncle Creepy. Ah, you know yourself, Ian McCall. Uncle Creepy, what a legend. Mayhem Miller, another great one.
Who is the dentist?
The Dentist. The Dentist was Josh Neer, I do believe. The Prodigy. BJ
Rick,
Penn.
the ginger with the intent to end your fight.
No, that's not a real person. That's fake.
All in.
No, I'm looking at it. It's real.
No, it's not real. The Last Stylebender.
That's a sick one. Yeah.
The Fireball Kid, Takanori Gomi. Oh my God, there's been a lot. Violent Bob Ross, a fun one. Semtex is a fun one.
Cyborg.
The Polish Experiment, Krzysztof Soshinsky. Thug Rose is a great one. Mark Super Simone Hunt.
The Irish hand grenade, Marcus Davis.
Yeah, no, he mentioned that actually
Oh,
in his list.
I mean, we've named so
It's one
many.
of the
I
five.
forgot what the OG was.
No, Razor Blades is a fun one. I mean, there's
You
been a
got
lot.
one?
Soldier of God is good.
Soldier
God of
fun.
War is good.
Yeah,
I
God
don't
of
want to
War
say
is
it's
good.
God
a
of
Classic.
War, yeah. No, those are great. Does Rick have one?
No, I mean we hit most of them.
All right, fine.
Wow.
Thanks.
Good to see you today.
Eric, what's the likelihood that PFL doesn't stay on ESPN? If it's likely, what brought about it? I, for one, enjoy that PFL is on ESPN. It's one of the things that drew me in as a fan. Is it due to pressure from the fact that UFC is also on ESPN and they probably don't like that they share a network? Well, I can tell you they don't. In some places, they're able to flex. I had heard that BT was in talks with PFL and UFC flex there, but they can't flex with ESPN because ESPN, they are the big dogs. And so I can assure you that they'd prefer to not be sharing whatever you want to call it, the platform with the PFL, but they don't necessarily have that kind of say. And to answer the first question, I would say the likelihood of PFL not staying on ESPN is very, very low. I suspect, based on Don's comments 2 interviews ago, and based on what I'm hearing, that they are going to stay. So I don't think that's going to happen. As much info on this matter as possible would be greatly appreciated. I've been a fan of yours since 2011. Love you and the content. Keep it up. Thank you, Eric. No, I think they're going to stay, barring any last-minute thing. I would be shocked if they don't stay on ESPN. And that's probably the best home for them because you got the plus component, you've got the network component, and their numbers are doing really well. 400 here, 500 here. The pay-per-view is a tough sell, no doubt about it. They have their reasons, but the regular season stuff and the playoff stuff does pretty well. ESPN, they are the worldwide leader. Victor 18, Moin Moin Ariel, as we like to greet people in Hamburg, Germany. Shout out. Sorry about the 1980 European Cup final when Nottingham Forest beat Hamburg. I hope you're over it, Victor. Octagon. The magic on and off the pitch. Forest, the magic on and off the pitch. Come on, you Reds. Octagon MMA. Yes, shout out to them. Just held the biggest MMA event ever in Germany, selling out the biggest arena with almost 20,000 people. Yeah, I was told about 18,000 in attendance, and announcing their plans of perhaps doing a stadium show in 2024. They're killing it. We spoke to John Kavanaugh about this as well. Octagon emerging as one of the leaders in European MMA, and it's great to see. How likely do you see the UFC coming to Germany anytime soon? Or would they need a high-level German fighter in order to do so, as we've seen with Cyril Gane, and then they went to Paris for the first time, or with Khamzat Chimaev and their plans to go to Sweden? Much love and appreciation for the whole MMA Hour crew from Germany. Yes, much love to you as well. I would suspect that you need a big German name, but they have gone to Germany before without a big German name. These days, the UFC is going, because they are so red hot, to places that are going to pay them a site fee more often than not. Or if there is some sort of reason to go, like a new TV deal, or you want to break the market. Historically, Germany did give them some trouble back in the early days. I'm talking like 2010 days. UFC 122 was in Germany, if memory serves me correct. And that was a Spike TV card. Nate Marquardt was in the main event of that card. And, those were different times. Now they're in a much different place, and they could go to, places where they're being paid to go, site fee. And that's, I'm not saying that that's a bad thing at all. That's incredible. I did just see WWE's going to Germany, Bash in Berlin. I believe it's in late August or maybe early September of next year. So, if you're a WWE fan, you're probably very excited about that. That's a PLE. They're also going to France. They're going to Australia next year for the PLEs. That's pretty cool. PLE, by the way, for those that don't know, are the premium live events. They don't call them pay-per-views in WWE land. They call them premium live events. But I've not heard anything of Germany. It doesn't mean it's not going to happen. But they're in demand. And there are countries that are, paying top dollar for them to come. And they're obviously going to give those countries first priority. But Octagon's doing great things. They had a big show in Manchester recently, obviously the Germany show. And I wish them the best. And it's great to see. European MMA, just like European boxing, is booming right now. I wish Canada had, promotions like Octagon and Cage Warriors and others producing talent. We don't have that in Canada. And man, the European fight scene right now is just on fire. It's great to see. So you're lucky if you're living in that region. Slava, hey Ariel, I've heard you say that Dana doesn't say enough at the beginning of the pre-fight press conferences to promote the fight. Okay, now I see where this is going, and I'm going to say that I probably don't agree with you, but I'll keep reading. I'm a boxing casual, and I watched the Fury Usyk press conference only to fast forward 2/3 of it, which was randos talking about nothing. Again, I'm not talking about, the commissioner and the network executive and this guy and that guy talking. I'm talking about a little 2-minute spiel. That's it. So I'm talking, no, the UFC does press conferences and weigh-ins better than anyone on the planet. That's boxing, MMA included. Kickbox, they do them better than anyone. But sometimes it feels like it's a little phoned in when it's like, who's got the first question? Now, maybe there's fans that love that. I'm just saying a little hype job, pretty much what he does with those videos, if you don't know, now you know. It's pretty much exactly what I'm talking about. And how long are those? 2 minutes? So that's all I'm talking about. I've been to the boxing press conferences. First of all, for some bizarre reason, boxing doesn't let fans come to the press conferences. Now, I think at times the UFC press conferences go overboard and they feel like Jerry Springer shows, and it's just a parade of quote-unquote journalists just trying to get a 30-second clip to put on their Instagram. Hey, look at me. This is what I did today. And none of them are even using any of these answers or content for anything, not to inform themselves, not to inform their audience, not to write articles off of. That's the point of a quote-unquote press conference. And then the fans get there, and then it becomes unruly and crazy and whatnot. But then there are magical moments like the fans at the Conor Jose Aldo press tour. That was incredible. That made it that much bigger and better. For some reason in boxing, I know Matchroom doesn't like doing this, and others, PBC as well, they don't like fans coming to the press conference. And I get it to a degree. You want this to just be about, the media, but a little oomph goes a long way. Like Katie Taylor in Ireland, let's bring some fans out there. Let's get people rolling. Get people excited, get people fired up, get people, buzzing, as they say. Again, I'm not a fan of people faking and parading as journalists and just asking questions and putting it on their social media and saying, look at the question I asked, or being disrespectful to the fighters and saying I bet on you or your opponent and all this nonsense. But all that to be said, UFC does press conferences and weigh-ins bigger and better than anyone out there. A lot of positivity today. I hope you people are paying attention. Hello, Ariel and Co. It feels like recently sneaker talk has grown on the show with Ariel and guests. Has it? Have we talked about sneakers a lot? I used to be really big into the sneakers. I used to wear the SBs to all the events, a different pair every time. I don't know when's the last time I bought a pair of shoes that were SBs, like for work. I've definitely slowed down. But have we talked about sneakers a lot on the show?
I mean, it came up on Monday.
Did it? With who?
Veronica. Talking about the shell toes.
I mean, that was literally like a 3-second
I
thing.
paid attention.
I didn't even know what they were talking about. And I think it was Dan Hardy. Or maybe it was her talking about that they bought the same. Anyway, I was wondering what the entire crew's favorite sneaker of all time is. Have a great rest of the show. Thanksgiving and weekend. Appreciate it. My favorite shoe brand, if you will, are Nike SBs. Love them. I'm wearing SBs right now. Oh, I always have trouble with this. There you go. Probably my favorite SBs of all time are the Miss Pac-Mans. I would say those are my favorite. I do like the De La Souls a lot as well. I had some great ones back in the day, and I didn't pay that much for them. And now I go on Flight Club and I see that they're an insane amount. They're like $600, $700, $800, $1,000. Nuts. Anyway, Frank, what's your favorite pair?
The Adidas Sambas.
Oh yeah, I don't know what that is. Let me
They're
look
like
that up.
indoor soccer shoes.
Really? Your favorite pair is an indoor soccer shoes?
That's
What is-
right.
Oh, are you wearing that right now?
No.
Those are nice. I've seen these, of course. These are legendary.
Yeah. You know what the shell toes are, right? Did the Adidas like Run DMC would wear?
Yeah, of course. Why are they called shell toe?
Because of the toe is like a silicone rubber.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a shell.
GC, what about you?
Hey, man, Frank with the 3 stripes, I see.
Yeah.
I mean, just the classic, a nice Jordan 1. I mean, that goes a long way. Tough to get, expensive.
I know. There was.
By the way, did you just mention $800,000 for a shoe or 8,000?
8,000
8,000. Okay.
Wait, what?
per shoe.
No, like I've seen.
I misheard you there.
Did I say 8,000, 800? I mean, you go on Flight Club now, and I'm like, what in the world? What is going on here?
Yeah, shoes are expensive, man.
They weren't that expensive a few years ago. I don't like. Can I just say something? I don't like the bastardization of the Jordan shoe.
What do you mean bastardization?
Everyone's got the freaking Jordans now. Like there was a time where the only Jordans that you can get were the Jordans that were out, the Jordan 11. And then we got the Team Jordan, the Jordan brand. And now we've got every single color variation of Jordan 1 through whatever it was, 20-something, 30-something. Like there was a time where it was like, whoa, Jordan 1? Like you can't get that unless you had the actual Jordan 1 from 1984. Now it's in every color. It's sort of like the bastardization. There's 2 other things that I don't like. That, and then I also don't like, I hate what has happened to NBA jerseys. I hate it.
I'm actually with you there. I'm with you there. Like the NBA jerseys are.
They are a mess. They are a mess. They are an absolute mess. I hate what they did with the courts for the in-season tournament. What the hell is going on with these courts? The in-season tournament is such a joke.
Tournament is pointless.
Is completely pointless.
Zero interest.
You're pretending like there's stakes. There's no stakes. It's the dumbest thing in the world. If you wanted to make it like the FA Cup, which is what they're trying to do, get Europe involved, get the G League involved, get other teams that makes the Pelicans playing the Knicks means nothing. They're playing each other. They would have played each other anyways on this day. That drives me nuts. And I don't like the bastardization of hats as well. Like it was cool when like Limp Bizkit had the red Yankee hat in 1999. But now it's like the colors mean nothing. When I was watching basketball back in the day, the Knicks had 2 jerseys, maybe a third alternate. That was it. And that was only much later in the late 90s. The Celtics had the same jersey for years and years and decades. The Bulls had what is going on now with these jerseys? These jerseys are out of control. And I feel like they're trying to do it like soccer. It's actually like one of the few things I don't like about soccer, that they change the jerseys every season. There needs to be some consistency. Like how is Man City wearing a lime green jersey? What is going on? That's not their colors. There needs to be some consistency. White at home, dark on the road, keep it simple. Say what you will about baseball, for the most part, they sometimes do like the one-off weekend where it gets a little wacky, but they've kept it pretty consistent over the years. Football doesn't get crazy with the jerseys. They had that one stretch where like teams on Thursday night were wearing the same color. Well, that was stupid as hell.
Yeah, color rush jerseys. Though baseball has added like the city edition ones.
Yeah, but they
Look
do
at
it
the
like
Padres city edition ones.
yes, but they do it for like a minute. They don't do it like I feel like basketball. It's like I'm watching Thunder, Pistons, and I couldn't even tell you what the like who's playing because none of the colors match their actual color scheme.
What I actually hate more is when they do it in the playoffs. Playoffs, you should only be able to wear your home or away.
Couldn't agree more. I hate this. Do you think
Like
it's because
LeBron won the 2016 championship wearing
with a t-shirt one?
Sleeve jerseys.
That was
like, that's just
that's a horrible era in NBA history. The sleeves. Why did they do that? Now they got rid of it.
they were trying something.
But the colors
didn't work out.
By the way, for the record, I like the sleeves better than the colors.
All comes back to money, just so they can sell more jerseys. That's all it is.
But I feel like they're trying to be like soccer here because soccer they come out with the new kits every freaking season. And I don't like that too. I like consistency. I like history. I like, it's got to mean something. You watch NBA in the 80s, 70s, 60s, 90s. It's all the same. Now, some teams will rebrand and have new logos and stuff, and that's fine.
Do you like the throwbacks?
Hell yeah, I like the throwbacks.
Like I love when Tennessee wore the old Houston.
Yeah, no, that's
jersey,
cool.
yeah.
That's cool. I don't like when
and
Washington
I
wears
feel like
Expos.
you really, there's a lot of things about you. You should be a college football fan. A lot of tradition in the jerseys.
Yeah.
Don't change them too much. I mean, Georgia, they're going to be rocking the red and black.
It's true.
Bama never wears an alternate.
I like that.
A
No,
lot of tradition. Just saying. I feel like there's a lot of things about college football that you like, except for the sport itself.
it's because there's too much turnover.
Yeah.
I'm not emotionally invested in any school, even though I went to Syracuse. I sort of have a love-hate relationship with Syracuse. And so you're a fan of Georgia, and then you fall in love with the players who join Georgia, and you're a fan of like the system and the coaches and all that stuff. But I don't have that emotional attachment to any school to where I can just jump on their train and say, I'm going to live and die with this team. By the way, what's something that pisses me off about college football? End of the game, coach shouldn't be the first one interviewed. Sorry. Coach didn't do shit. Interview the quarterback. Why? In college basketball, too. Why is the coach interviewed after the game all the time?
Tradition.
But that's stupid. Do you not agree?
They don't always interview the coach.
They always interview the coach first. The coach is the biggest star on the field. They interview Nick Saban over the quarterback every single time.
Yeah, probably.
It's sort of like when they give the championship trophy to the owner.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
I
I know he paid like
was going to say, spending a lot of money.
I know, but come on.
Spending quite a bit of money.
Give it to
Make
give it
things
to the owner at some point. You know where they don't
I
do
just
that?
love how he came here from shoes.
You know where they don't do that? In the CFL. On Sunday when the Alouettes won, it went to the players first. Thought that was really nice.
First CFL game you watched this year.
That's such bullshit, and I don't appreciate the insinuation. All right, I'm a diehard Alouettes fan. Been since 1996, since they came back to Montreal, formerly known as the Baltimore Stallions. Did you know that? Of course not. Marv Levy used to be their head coach in the 70s, formerly the coach of the Buffalo Bills. Did you know that? No. Did you know Jim Burrow, father of Joe Burrow, was once their quarterback?
No, I'm not a
Should we go-
Alouettes fan. I'm
Should
not trying
I
to go
continue?
pound for pound with you.
Are you
I'm just
familiar with
saying,
the great
first-
Tommy Frazier of Nebraska
you
fame
watched
back
all
in the day? Tommy Frazier?
No, I'm not a
You don't know Tommy Frazier from Nebraska in the 90s, the quarterback?
No, because he went and played in the CFL.
He did, legend. Tracy Ham, also. You really don't know Tommy Frazier? He's like one of the greatest college quarterbacks of all time.
I'll be the judge of that.
Tommy Frazier, look him up. Tommie. Then he came.
I feel like I'd know him if he was one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time.
He was incredible. He had one of the all-time runs. He had like a 98-yard run.
Oh, we get one play, you become one of the greatest college.
Tommy
quarterbacks of all
Frazier.
time.
Oh, he's a coach now. Look him up.
I'm looking him up right now. Frazier. Old T. Frazier.
He was so good. Where's he coaching out? Two-time
Coaches
national
don't do
champion.
shit.
Not bad. 94, 95.
Not bad. One-time All-American.
Fiesta Bowl MVP. Two-time Orange Bowl MVP. Not bad. Johnny Unitas Golden Arm. Quarterback of the year, 95. Consensus All-American, 95.
1,300 yards.
Say it's not bad. Telling me about college football.
I mean, one of the greatest college quarterbacks of all time.
Yes.
Sure. I mean, not sure.
Is Tommy Frazier one of
Not even
the
making a top
greatest athletes
Probably
of all
not
time?
even
Do you
making,
always
top
Google
25.
questions?
33-3 as a starter, 83 touchdowns, despite in an offense that didn't throw the ball much. I mean,
Nebraska was a powerhouse.
yeah, they were.
Joe
Sure.
Burrow, Tommy Frazier, we're going pound for pound there. Cam Newton, Tommy Frazier.
TF for sure.
We're going
Different
TF
time,
over
different era.
Cam Newton, different.
Hey, Ariel and team. Question for GC, if I may. I heard him mention on a podcast that he quit alcohol for a whole year. Wow, shout out to the found generation on a podcast.
Shout out.
The found generation. What a time it was. Last week you guys did that? 2 weeks ago?
2 weeks ago, yeah.
Shout out to TST. I noticed that we're at the end of the questions. I saw TST sneak in there yesterday. Didn't make the cut, huh, Frank?
Yikes.
Oof.
Yeah, I saw him in the questions. I took a little peek this morning. TST didn't make the cut.
TST, a great question to Dylan Dennis at the live show.
Yeah. Anyway, you quit alcohol for a whole year. Would be interested to hear more on that. Did the pros outweigh the cons, and any tips? Would like to do the same myself, but having a pint is pretty much the only time I socialize with friends. Thanks a mil. This is from Our West.
Yeah, I mean, I got pretty deep on it with old TST on the found generation. I mean, he asked for tips. The biggest thing is it's so much easier than you think it's going to be. Anytime I would go out and socialize with friends, like he's mentioning, I would typically have drinks with that. And a lot of my friends drink, so that's pretty much all they do. And you can easily go out and do stuff without drinking. All you got to do is just do it once, and then you do it again, and then you do it again. I was going to bars, clubs, parties, you name it, and just not drinking. And I was still having a good time. And, by the time you're leaving, everyone else is just sauced up, absolutely smacked, and you're leaving sober and you feel fine in the morning, and it's great, man. I mean, you just feel better. You're more productive the next day. You don't eat like shit. You don't feel like shit. Yeah, it's great. I mean, do the pros outweigh the cons? There really is no cons to quitting drinking. It's I guess you don't get to relax every once in a while with your friends. The pros are endless. You're more healthy. You feel better. You're in better shape. You're more productive. If it ever puts any strains on any relationships, those relationships are better. You lose weight, you look better. Yeah, I mean, there's a million pros to it. So yeah, if you're considering it, you should just start, and I promise you, it'll be easier than you think it is.
Well said. We'll go to our last question. This is from Jason, Mr. Meticulously Mysterious Frank. I'm curious about what you and the boys are into outside of the MMA universe. Any interesting hobbies, projects, or passions? Thanks again, Jason from Atlanta. Frank?
Yeah, I work in the music industry.
Yes.
Read.
No way.
Wow.
And I'm a tabletop gamer.
Tabletop gamer.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Like I play board games.
Yeah, what does that mean?
What? I have never heard that.
I'm sorry that you have never heard of it.
No, I'm just, there's nothing to be sorry about. I'm just, Eric, have you ever heard of a tabletop gamer?
I've never heard that expression before.
Wow.
No.
Now you know.
Okay. I just heard of like someone who likes to play board games.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not surprised that you don't know the term, so I'm sorry. But yeah, tabletop gamer, that's a thing.
The whole I'm sorry part of all of this is strange. Like, it's almost like I feel like you're taking it personally.
No. I just feel like it's a thing that other tabletop gamers would understand, and then maybe you just never heard the term before.
Anyway, Near Crick, what do you like to do?
Probably along those same lines, like the most
Tabletop?
weird, out there, fascinating thing is I do I love escape rooms. That's my
that's right.
my like weird
That
kind
is
of,
right.
hobby.
Yes.
Love them.
Yes,
Done so many,
yes.
hundreds.
What about you, GC?
Yeah, tabletop gaming.
Shout out.
God.
Actually, Frank has promised me like 1,000,000 times over that we're going to go play a board game together, and he's just never set it up.
Promises.
Did he say?
I mean, it's been like
What
a whole
kind of board
year
games
at
are we
this
talking?
point.
What type of board games are we talking here? Like, break this down for me.
I mean,
Yeah.
Settlers of Catan, Carsacone. Then you get weird with
Obviously,
like.
yeah.
I mean, those are like there's leagues for both of those games, but then I'll play some like role playing games, BattleTech.
That's Dungeons and Dragons, right?
There's that included. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, look, the chat knows what I'm talking about. So, shout out chat.
Shout out chat, yeah.
Tabletop gamers, baby.
I would go do it, but I mean, yeah, I guess, All bark, no bite.
When he talked to you about doing this, did he say, "Do you want to?"
Several occasions.
No, but did he say, "Do you want to like tabletop game with me?"
No, do you want to go get a group of people and play board games?
Okay.
Rent on a table. He brings the games, and we go and play the board games.
All right.
I mean, tomorrow's young.
I don't have a. I mean, for me, the biggest sort of hobby that I have, I don't know if this sounds weird, but like, are my kids like going to soccer? Well, this past weekend we had 3 soccer games, 1 basketball game. That pretty much takes up the entire weekend. If I had to say there was one thing that like I use as an escape these days, I really enjoy soccer. I listen to soccer podcasts a lot. I'm really enjoying, like when you find a new thing, you really kind of get into it. That's kind of my new thing right now. Like I'm super into the Euro qualifications, and I just kind of learned about the playoffs in March and what the hell's going on with that. And I was watching Wales, Armenia on Saturday morning. Shout out to Brendan Johnson. Nico Williams and the crew fell short, but they still have the playoffs. I don't know. I'm really into all of that. And I will say that I have I really am into boxing right now. And I know that's kind of very close to MMA, but I don't listen to MMA podcasts. I live and breathe MMA, but I enjoy the business of boxing. I enjoy the fights, especially what's going on in Europe and in the UK and all these things. Like it just feels fresh and fun and different. I'm very much into that. So if you looked at my podcast feed right now, it's probably a lot of soccer and a lot of MMA. A lot of soccer and a lot of boxing, no MMA. And that's no knock on anyone else. It's just, that's what I'm living and breathing and watching constantly. So you want to have some other things on your mind. I am trying to read a little bit more these days. I got Andre Ward's book. I am reading a book which its name escapes me at the moment.
Did you ever get Drake's book?
Sounds like it's a really good one.
No, because it's a really long name. It's about Vince McMahon. It's that book that came out over the summer. Golly. I mean, it's quite captivating.
You got that whole bookshelf you got to go through.
Ringmaster Vince McMahon and the Unmaking of America. Is that it?
Yeah. I mean,
that is quite a title.
The research, like there's a huge section of the book that is about his childhood, which I knew nothing about. I don't even know if I knew he grew up in North Carolina, and he grew up in North Carolina. So there's a lot about him. I do feel like the author had a bit of an axe to grind. There's a couple of shots here and there. Actually, it was Dan Hurley, believe it or not, head coach of the UConn Huskies, who told me about the book. And I've finally gotten around to read it a lot. The guy who wrote a book with Eric Bischoff. I do like wrestling books. I'm not going to lie. And I know that's kind of in my wheelhouse. He wrote Eric Bischoff's book called Grateful. I was reading that for a while. But yeah, those are the things. Those are the hobbies. When Kayla talked about movie night, I do like a good movie night with the family. Eric, you got to love a good movie night. You guys have movie night?
I kind of do movies solo.
Wow. Okay.
I just plow through movies on my own. They're not invited.
Wow.
That's my thing.
This is at home movie night?
Yeah. I'll go to the movie theater solo too.
I mean, that's definitely a hobby of mine, going to the. I got
just
the
went and
membership over at Alamo.
With theaters like Alamo.
What did I just see?
Yeah, love going to the movie theaters. That's definitely a hobby of mine.
No.
I just went and saw The Marvels by myself. That's what I just saw.
How was it? Heard dicey reviews. Yeah. Okay.
If you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything.
Wait a second.
All right, then I won't go.
Who just told me? Someone literally just told me they went to the Marvels. Who just said
that
that?
was Rick.
Eric
30
Jackman.
seconds
Yeah.
ago.
No. Not the second. Someone told me. A father in my kid's class. He said he had no idea what was going on, and he was wondering if he had to have seen another. I'm like, you're asking the wrong guy. This is the first I've heard of this movie. But is there like a movie before it?
Yeah,
There's a TV show. It requires some homework.
Okay. Yeah, he didn't do the homework. So
yeah, I almost went and saw it. I'm glad I didn't.
He was very lost.
Napoleon? We going to see Napoleon, Rick? Little Ridley
What's on
Scott?
deck for me? I want to see Thanksgiving, the new Eli Roth movie. That's my next move, probably.
Napoleon,
and obviously, Killers of the Flower Moon, which you already saw. I
Strap
definitely want to
in.
get on up.
Strap
What
in.
about The Killer?
Oh, I'm good.
com-
I'm good for that.
Wear comfy clothes.
Little
Good
David
story,
Finch.
though.
Oh,
Good
man.
story.
Iron Claw.
I was going to say Iron Claw next month.
mhm,
For
mhm.
sure. For sure.
I saw The Killer. The Killer was amazing. Shout out
Oh,
David
I was
Fincher.
just asking about
man.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
How was
Amazing.
the soundtrack to that?
Good. Wasn't it like the Smiths, like the entire thing or something like that? Or was
Trent
that?
Reznor and Atticus Ross?
Oh,
A
yeah.
bit,
Maybe he. Oh, the Killer himself. Listen to that.
Bit of
great,
housekeeping
great movie.
from the Perez interview. You guys started talking about Carol G. It was actually Becky G. That was at the Ngannou fight.
Oh. Was it not the same person?
I love how she was
No,
like,
no.
yeah,
easy,
I think so.
easy to get confused. A
Oh.
little lost in translation there. Yeah, two different artists. I was back here. I was like,
I
Becky.
think Kenny G was
Becky
there
G.
as well. Warren
Wow.
G was there.
Why did? Well, I do love Warren G. I knew it was someone with a G.
Good on you, Frankie.
Yeah.
Know yourself.
Yeah,
Frank,
all
that
right.
was a great joke. That was.
I knew it was someone with a G. Well, she didn't correct me.
And we're in.
I know. I think it was a
into
little bit
the
of lost
season
in
now.
translation.
Yeah, I
there.
think she was there.
a bit of lost in translation there.
Thanks for watching. We appreciate it very much. Hey, if you like this video, give us the old thumbs up. Subscribe as well. You could get many more of these videos on the channel. So please do that. We would love you forever if you did so.